Welcoming traveler. Get ready to level up in fantasy football.
What is going on, everybody? It is FF Mike Cash. I am here with Evan, my fearless co-host. Evan, how are you?
Hey, I'm making it through.
Evan found a random closet to record from tonight, so we are ready. We are excited. Uh, let's talk some wide receivers. Before we get into that, you want to do a little warm-up question?
Sure, what we got?
Evan, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I know you are the most eligible bachelor on the podcast. If you were to take me out on a date, where would you take me, and why would it be perfect?
Well, I'm assuming if I'm doing that, you're going to be sporty.
Okay.
So, being in Nashville, we're probably going to go to a Preds game if they're playing, which I think they're playing tonight. So, they're probably not playing tomorrow, which means we just find some random concert in the town, and whatever type of music you want to listen to, we'll find somewhere to go.
I feel like that's such a cop out. You're like, oh, I live in Nashville. There's fun things everywhere. I'm like, we can go to the beach if it's warm.
Hey, laying on the beach, staring up at some stars with a little bit of fire going, just can't
It's
have
got,
any nails on the beach. That wood that you got to get, you got to pull all those nails.
yeah, no nails. You can't have the fire too big or the cops show up. There's a lot of problems with that. But people don't want to talk about this. They also don't want to talk about the Super Bowl. It happened. Chiefs won. Congratulations. Patrick Mahomes is awesome. Brock Purdy crumbled in the last minutes, which is heartbreaking. But that means it's officially dynasty season. We're fired up. This is our time of the year. Let's talk about some rookie wide receiver rankings. We're going to breeze through the top three because we got a lot to get into tonight. We got 60 minutes of fun-filled wide receiver nonsense. So, Evan, first and foremost, Marvin Harrison Jr. Would you like to say anything other than he is Marvin Harrison's kid?
Yeah, I mean, best in the class.
Yeah, he's elite. You should be excited about it. Moving on, Malik Neighbors
Almost best in the class.
would be the best in every class except for this one, which is unfortunate. Cool. And last, Roma Dunze.
Yeah, I mean, he's the last of the three. I think he's pretty clearly the last of three, but still clearly the top three.
Yeah. Breezing through those because, listen, if you need a breakdown of Marvin Harrison Jr., FF Snoop did a good breakdown on it. Listen, he's good at football. There's nothing more to say about it. Malik Neighbors would be the one in most classes, and Roma Dunze, despite the fights that I've had with his dad on Twitter, elite player. So get excited about it. Would you like to pick your number 4 in the class to lead us off?
Okay, going with number 4, I'm going to make a case for a guy that you've really brought me around on, and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep. So I'm still working through, getting through tape on all these wide receivers, trying to watch some highlights from the years. But looking at what he did over the years, I mean, obviously you have the caveat of this past year, which some people are going to look at and say he took such a giant step this past year with Jaden Daniels in his Heisman season. You're going to have some question marks there. But besides that, I mean, we're looking at a guy that's still young. He's got the prototypical size. Should be able to have all the measurables that you need. I'm not really concerned about too much in his game. Maybe a little bit of the entire route tree. I don't know. I haven't watched, like I said, I haven't watched enough. But I guess I just kind of see a little bit of a lack of full route tree, which you can make that argument for basically anybody in college football.
Yeah. LSU used him primarily for go routes, fades, and then quick stops, which he ran all of those extremely effectively. There's a comparison in their production profile that Malik Neighbors was A.J. Brown in that offense, and Brian Thomas Jr. was DK Metcalf. Like, there's a lot of similarities with them as prospects. There's a lot of similarities, and there's a lot to love. He's a freak athlete that is a hands catcher, and he's my wide receiver 4, and I think that he is closer to 3 than 5 is to him, in my opinion, right now. So a lot of good things to like about Brian Thomas Jr. But as we said, we're trying to go deep, 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 deep tonight. So who's your 5?
Mine's Keon Coleman. I know that's going to be spicy for some, but
scroll down here.
I think that he's an athletic freak. I think he's going to test really well at the combine. So I'm pretty excited about that. I like him getting out of the Michigan State situation, although he was there with Jaden Reed. Route creativity. I mean, wasn't really asked to do that. He was asked to be a high point guy, ball down the field, has close to elite ball skills, athleticism through the roof, and contested catch wide receiver. So really appreciate all those aspects.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that we're going to show up to the combine. Everyone's going to have him wide receiver 5 to wide receiver 8, and he's going to test out of the gym. And we're going to double count it because we saw it on film. Like he is a freak. But why was the production weird? Like Johnny Wilson had more yards per game than Keon Coleman. Fun fact. So little concerning.
I mean, you look at the offense, and it just wasn't really how that offense was run. It wasn't really how the team was run. You look at them, and they were a defensive first team. Definitely trying to limit them, trying to limit the amount of exposure that their defense had on the field, so their offense was playing more ball control. Then you have the Jordan Travis injury on top of it at the end of the season. But you just look at what he did starting off the season, and look at the defenses that he played, looked at how he played, just really appreciated all of that.
Yeah. I was listening to Ben Solak from The Ringer, which if you haven't listened to The Ringer Draft Show, you should. He was like, Keon Coleman is the kind of guy that he doesn't know how to run routes yet, but he just does it every once in a while. And you're like, you're not supposed to know how to do that. And he just does it. Like there's no refinement in his game. He's not like thinking through how do I manipulate this defender and get them off balance. It is purely just he's an athlete that is moving on the field like a guy when he is like taking a step back for the first time. And you're like, holy smokes, I want you on my team. So I think if a wide receiver coach gets their hands on him and refines him even a little bit, you're looking at a top 20 receiver in the league.
And you listen to what most NFL coaches say, most NFL scouting departments, they're looking for the guys with potential that they can mold. They're looking for the guys that they're like, we can make him into this. And they're not looking for the guys that they already see as a finished product. They're looking for guys that have significant upside. And I think that significant upside is going to keep him in round 2, maybe tail end of round 1, but I think he's most likely a round 2 guy.
I would love to see him pick 32 to the Chiefs. I just think what he brings to that offense as opposed to what Rashee Rice does is just so completely different. And it would just be, imagine a scramble drill with Keon Coleman on the other end. It wouldn't be fair. But, okay, cool. We both like Keon Coleman. I actually have him wide receiver 7 right now. And this is for fantasy football, not for real life. Real life, like, there's receivers that are going to go higher, like Devontae Walker, because he runs fast. But we'll talk about him later. I'm going to get into my wide receiver 5, Troy Franklin. If you took Devontae Smith, pardon me, he didn't have the same Heisman finish, but the route running proficiency is there. Like you just stretch him out a little bit. Like he's easily 6'2", probably 6'3". They listed him at 6'4". He's not 6'4". He's probably 6'3", 6'2.5", somewhere in there. But that size and that length, like his wingspan is going to come in huge. And it's not supposed to be able to bend at the top of routes like Troy Franklin does. Like he has this ability to kind of turn on a dime at the top of his routes that it's because he's so slight, like he is able to do that, but it shouldn't be able to move that like the way that he does. So really excited about what Troy Franklin does. I think that he is going to be a back end of the first in the real NFL draft, which will probably put him somewhere in that like 108 to 110 of your rookie drafts.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that he's probably a round 1, round 2 type of guy near the turn there between day 1, day 2. The biggest concern that I have is that the very few times that you see him go up against press coverage, or the very few times that I've seen him go up against press coverage, it looks like he just has a hard time getting off of it. He's so used to clean releases because everybody looks at his elite speed, being able to go downfield, be an elite deep ball receiver. And then you also look at just play strength. That's definitely a concern for me.
Yeah.
And then also concentration drops, which is very similar to Xworthy, which is
Yeah.
why I kind of push him down the board as well. So
Okay. Where do you have Troy Franklin in your wide receiver rankings right now? And
I have him at
where'd you
6.
become
So
at 6? Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
we were going to get to him next anyway.
Yep.
Cool. So recap the top 5 for me. I have Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas Jr., and then Troy Franklin. And Evan, you have
Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas Jr., and then Keon Coleman.
very cool. Let's kick it off with your 6.
Well, we
Troy
already
Franklin.
talked about my 6,
Cool.
and that was
Let's
Troy
talk
Franklin.
about my 6 then. Lad McConkey, baby. Listen, we talk about how there are NFL teams that are going to be looking for potential. They're looking for somebody that they can mold, somebody that they can build, somebody that's going to be a takeover type player in the league. That is not Lad McConkey. However, for teams that are looking for an immediate producer, and most of our dynasty and our fantasy football leagues are points per reception, he's going to get pushed way down if it's a standard league. Like he's not going to have, 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. But he could step into the league and get 70 to 80 receptions in his first season. So I think that the Hunter Renfrow comps are lazy. He is closer to a skinny Chris Godwin. And I think he's going to impress people at the combine. Like when you see it on speed, his release off the line is just, he's so fast. He has that burst. So he has burst. He has a little more long speed than people give him credit for. And we saw at the Senior Bowl, no one could cover him. I think did he even play in the game? Like I think he was just like, nah, I'm good. Have a good day. So
Yeah,
that's a good sign.
He did everything that you wanted to see out of him at the Senior Bowl, and you just keep having these guys one higher than me because he's my 7. So
okay, cool.
Love everything that I saw in Senior Bowl practice. Yeah, okay, it's just practice, but you also see him playing for Georgia, and you listen to what the guys on Georgia said about him, and the fact that they say that he's a team leader. People are looking to him. You see that in the Paul Pierce mentality of he's hobbling off the field, and then 2 plays later, he's hobbling back on the field, just saying, you're not taking me out. Absolute toughness that you're seeing from him. Really appreciate that. And yeah, he may not be the biggest guy, but you're still seeing him in run blocking situations, being able to put his heart out there. Contested catches, little bit of a concern for me in that aspect, but run after the catch is fantastic. He has an incredible first step. Really looking forward to seeing his 10-yard split, and then also really looking forward to seeing him in the shuttle drill.
Yep. Good question from Big Gordy 66. Hi, Uncle Steve. Did George, as in George Pickens, make McConkey better than he really is? No, because in 2022, McConkey was second on the team in receptions, targets, yards, and he was only behind Brock Bowers. And then in 2023, he was second on the team in all of the per game metrics. He was just dealing with some injury things. So McConkey is, if George Pickens is the Keon Coleman, like physical freak that somebody wants to get their hands on him and mold him, McConkey is the opposite end of the spectrum where he's coming to the league, finished product. The Panthers could use a McConkey right now. So Panthers could use a lot of things.
Yes.
All right. Well, we already hit your 7, and my 7 was Keon Coleman. Would you like to hit number 8?
Okay. Number 8, I have AD Mitchell. Yeah.
I have to type him in. Everyone's going to listen to me type this.
Ah, man.
Ew.
Okay. Well, look, okay. He, in my opinion, is better than Xworthy. Xworthy is a completely different mindset type of receiver. AD Mitchell is more in the George Pickens-esque role. Obviously, we had transfer go on there between seasons. So it was his first season at Texas. Comes from Georgia.
Away from McConkey. Yeah.
comes from Georgia, and for his size, I do have questions because it doesn't seem like he high points the ball as much as he should at his size. His production is another thing that people are going to have some pause about in his 2022 season at Georgia. can't really tell you what all of that was about. But
Yep.
prototypical size, should have the measurables for above average wingspan. Everything that I've heard is he's an above average route runner with good IQ for finding the gaps in the zone. He's pretty fluid, relatively good quickness off the line, and he tracks the ball well. What more can you want from a guy that's going to be a day 2 pick?
I want college
Go ahead,
production
Mike.
because we have a lot of options with that. I
Yeah.
want a refined route runner, or at least a path forward to a refined route runner. Okay, let's anchor on AD Mitchell for a little bit because I think he's going to be a contested guy for a lot of people's rankings. Paint me a word picture where AD Mitchell is a top 30 fantasy receiver in 2025.
Where he goes somewhere with a dominant 1 without a dominant tight end and an offense that's going to be top half of the league in passing efficiency, passing volume.
So if he goes to a good landing spot without target competition, then he might be top 30.
Top 24.
You're not selling me here.
Top 24.
Okay.
But also, let's think about draft capital here. Realistically, I think he gets caught in the wash of where the running backs start going, and I think that ends up pushing him down boards to maybe a mid-second round pick. And if you're talking a mid-second round to a late second round, probably mid-second round in most dynasty formats, I think you can take a shot and you can sell yourself on it. And if you can't sell yourself on it, then you can probably sell somebody else in your league on it. Because I think he's a very volatile person, volatile asset for most people in leagues. Some people are going to love him. Some people are going to hate him. They're going to get caught up in the Texas hype. They're going to get caught up in the Georgia hype and just say, oh, his production was that way because he just was on incredible teams. And Georgia runs the ball so much, and they weren't asking their quarterbacks to throw a ton. Well, he had target competition with Brock Bowers. And then, he had target competition with Jatavion Sanders and X-Worthy down at Texas. Mm-hmm. So
I'm a big targets are earned guy, which is why my 8 is Xavier Worthy. Listen, it's also the Texas hype. I think his speed is going to set his floor for draft capital at top 50. Like, you're going to see him. He's going to hit the combine. He's going to run really, really, really fast. And some team is going to look at his production, his short route running, and just his massive ceiling. And I just don't think there's a world where Xavier Worthy is out of the league in 3 years. Is he going to be an immediate production? I have absolutely no idea. It's one of those things that if he lands in the right system, I'm going to say all the things you just said about AD Mitchell without a clear number 2, top half of the league offense, then he can be a valuable fantasy asset. But I do think that he could be the one on an offense if the offense isn't very good yet. Like, he does need a bigger receiver to be the X. With a creative coach, you can see them moving him all over the field. You can see him being used in a really exciting role because of just the terror that he can bring to a defense with the speed. Like, get him in motion across the field and then cutting up on a deep post. Like, those are the things that'll keep defensive coordinators up at night. So I would rather have the guy with the speed, with the targets, with the production. And Xavier Worthy is still super young and has already shown that he can produce. So I'm all on board Worthy. Any feedback or pushback or concerns?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a league that values long targets, long touchdowns, you get extra bonuses for that, or best ball, I'm definitely going to bump him up because I feel like he's the type of guy that's going to get, 2-3 receptions and have 25 yards a reception. 25, maybe 30 in a game. If you really look at him breaking it, I feel like that's how he's going to be used. He's going to be used as a field stretcher, which in today's NFL, with the amount of cover 2 that a lot of teams are running, to be able to take away that field stretcher and be able to make people dink and dunk, make the throws, just kind of churn their way downfield. I don't know if it's as valuable of a role. I think it gets used more often than not as a decoy role.
That is fair. However, who had a longer yards per reception in college, AD Mitchell or Xavier Worthy?
I mean, it's got to be Xavier Worthy.
It's AD Mitchell.
Oh, okay.
Because he was
he probably just had
guy.
He probably
Yeah.
just had, like 15 receptions on the year.
Yeah, he had 55 in 14 games, which is
Yep.
not
There you go.
not great, buddy. Not great.
There you go.
I'm going to be fading AD Mitchell pretty hard. That's why he wasn't on the list. But draft capital and landing spot, we'll see. Cool.
My issue as well is fantasy gamers, for whatever reason, continuously seem to push up these super fast wide receivers.
Yes.
We saw Jameson Williams get pushed up even with the injury. We've seen
Yes.
Waddle continue to stay super high in dynasty rankings.
I'll talk about Waddle.
So
Sore subject.
we saw the hype around Jalen Hyatt last year. These deep ball receivers. So yeah, I think that there is going to be too many people, in my opinion, that are going to value Xavier Worthy too high, which is going to make him very rare to be on any of my rosters.
Yeah, I actually think with where we have Worthy and Mitchell ranked, I don't think either of us are ever going to get them. There's going to be someone in your league that fell in love with Texas. There's going to be someone in your league that saw the highlight videos, the hype, like the train is coming for both of these guys. And I think this is our early cautionary warning. Like, go get yourself a Troy Franklin. Go get yourself a Keon Coleman. Go get yourself a Lad McConkey. And just like maybe trade back a little bit and let them go grab these landmines and you can move on with your life.
Oh, man, I would be so happy to go from like 110, 111 back to like 2-3 and pick up 3-3.
Yeah.
Do it in a
just
heartbeat.
Get Lad McConkey.
No, just give me all the running backs.
Oh. 2 running backs next week, which everybody come back next week. We're going to do running backs with SoCal Ball Nerd, little teaser, another high point survivor. So it'll be a good show. Anyway, was that 7 or 8?
I think it was 8, which is funny because I have X-Worthy 9. So
okay,
literally right next to each other.
Sell me on X-Worthy.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about it. Speed kills. You make the argument that somebody in your league is going to value him because he's fast. You're going to look at him. If he goes to a landing spot with a quarterback that pushes the ball downfield, somebody's going to start just absolutely drooling over him. Most likely, I agree with you. I think he doesn't get out of the top 50. I think he definitely doesn't make it out of day 2. Does everything just slightly worse than Jalen Waddle does.
Well, slightly worse. Jalen Waddle is still a good thing.
Yeah.
My number 9. You ready?
Okay.
I'm coming around.
He's my 11. He's my 11. So,
for those of you that don't know, I was a certified Michigan hater for a while. Still am. But the FF Astronauts Film Lab lets you sort by down and distance, situation, coverage, like all of the works, and like using those filters. I went ahead and I looked at 3rd and 4th downs for Michigan. And guess who did really well? JJ McCarthy. And guess who he was targeting? Roman Wilson. He's always open. He's another guy at the Senior Bowl. Like, nobody could cover him. They were busy like grasping for water bottles at the sideline instead of trying to cover him. Guys were intentionally avoiding matchups against him so they didn't lose money. Like, he's a stud. And if he's constantly open and he looks like he's super fast, he's going to rise on the draft board. He's going to be people's love lists. I think that the reason that the production isn't there is the same reason that JJ McCarthy's production isn't there. Like, when you have Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, you're not going to pass the ball that much. So don't hold the measurables and statistics against him. Don't hold anything outside of his control against him. Roman Wilson is hashtag good at football. And he is my number 9. Evan, thoughts? You're muted. But those are good thoughts. I like them.
He seems to separate well from what we saw. Basically uncoverable at the Senior Bowl practices. So that's definitely something that you want to see. And I've noticed the exact same thing in watching a good amount of Big Ten football these past couple of years. Definitely seemed like Roman Wilson was the go-to when they needed to actually pass the ball on 3rd down and then wasn't running the ball with Blake Corum, which they love to do all of the time, every single down and distance. Didn't matter if it was 3rd and 20 or 1st and 5, they would still be doing it. So I think that's really good to see. I think he's going to test really well too. So I think he has a lot more athleticism than people think. Seeing the production, I think they're going to kind of drop him down board, seeing the production. But once again, like you said, JJ McCarthy just wasn't asked to do a ton there, which naturally is going to suppress all the wide receivers. Can thrive in short and intermediate routes. I think that's where he's going to make a lot of his hay at the NFL level. I think he's going to be a chain mover type of guy for any NFL team.
Do you have any concerns about the frame? Like, he not a big dude. Or do you think that, like, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell, Jalen Waddle, like, all of those guys have just opened the door, and now we're just going to get all these tiny dudes overtaking the league?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be concern when you're under 200 pounds and being able to absorb hits from any of the linebackers, especially when he's going to be working in those short and intermediate routes. If he's having linebackers, if he's being asked to run it in a breaking route, something that's going to be going in there that he could have a safety coming down on him, he's going to absorb bigger hits. But at the same time, I mean, we've seen multiple years at Michigan. We've seen him absorb some hits. We've seen him stay on the field. I'm not really super concerned. We've seen plenty of wide receivers be able to thrive right around that 190 range.
Yeah. I'm a little worried, but I'm not super worried. He's never going to be the one on a team. Like, he's going to be the two or maybe a slot guy that just gets a ton of targets. But
yeah, or a three that ends up being the third highest receptions on the team. A team without a tight end.
Second round of your dynasty teams, like, having a flex option is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my number 9. Would you like to do yours? Or did you already do yours?
Well, my 9 was X-worthy.
Then give me your 10. Doing the pod on the pod.
Yeah, so my 10 is the guy who ran opposite of Rome Odunze. It's going to be Jalen Polk.
Ah, sweet. Same.
Oh, sweet.
Twinsies.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you look at some of his comparisons that people were talking about, Romeo Dobbs, Jonathan Mingo, George Pickens, all of those guys being
all over the board.
All over the board, yeah. But you're looking at similarities based off of the traits and percentages and what they do, which is intermediate and deep routes, which is something that you like, especially if you're looking at any kind of best ball type of situation. Very good hand strength. If he gets his hands on the ball, I mean, you're not really seeing him drop it. Ball skills are very good. I'm not going to say they're superb, but they're very good. And physicality, he plays with a physicality that most wide receivers tend to shy away from. Yeah, he seems to be a little bit slower, lacking a little bit of burst. But like I said, most of these wide receivers I still need to do a little bit more watching on. Needs to refine his technique as a wide receiver a little bit, hand placement, all of that, being able to get off the line. But that's my thoughts on him. College production was there. Just trying to pull that up as well.
I got you. So
there you go.
Junior year, 41 for 694, 6 touchdowns. Senior year, 69 receptions. Nice. We love to see it. 1,159 yards and 9 touchdowns. They also gave him 4 carries, and he got a touchdown on the ground, which is convenient.
There we go.
Production is there. It took him a little bit, but the junior year breakout was nice. He probably could have declared last year been a mid-day 2, early day 3 pick.
Sure. He also started his career at Texas Tech and then transferred. Yep. So typically those transfer years, you're not going to immediately step in and be able to just kind of run with it. So learning a new offense, you can chalk that up.
And in Washington's offense, like, they had McMillan, who is a stud. They had Odunze, who's a stud, and Polk still put together an 1,100-yard season. I will say, on the contested catch thing, like, his ability to make those catches through contact, Michael Penix, say what you will about him as an NFL talent, he throws a very catchable contested ball. Like, he knows where to put it where the defender can't get it. So I think those numbers might be skewed a little better in the receivers areas, but he still pops on film. I wish he was a little faster.
Yeah.
I wish everyone was
especially for being a deep and intermediate threat.
Yep. I wish I was faster, to be honest, but here we are. That's why we're on the pod. So he is my 10. I think that this is the range where I am going to start looking at running backs unless these guys fall in my lap in the fourth. But to look at, I mean, we're 10 receivers deep, and we're still talking about like this is probably a day two guy. Like this would be a day two guy in every other draft, but maybe teams are a little more patient this year because they can get a Jalen Polk later, they can get a Roman Wilson later, they can get Xavier Worthy, Keon Coleman, insert your favorite here, a little later. So I'm really excited to see where they turn out. We have 2 months, but if there's somebody that is going to fall in this process, I think it's going to be Jalen Polk because he's not a combine dude. He's a pretty solid route runner. That's a hands catcher. So I think he'll be productive at the next level, but I don't think he's going to be anything crazy. Probably wide receiver 2 on a medium team. Cool.
Sure. Yeah, we can go with that.
All right. Give me your 6 through 10 as a little recap, and then we will dive into 11 through 13, going nice and deep. And we'll talk a little pro comps for some of these guys and then get out of here.
All right. So my 6 through 10 is going to be Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Jalen Polk.
Very cool. And I have Ladd McConkey in all of his glory, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, Roman Wilson, and Jalen Polk. But let's get into wide receiver 11 / tight end 2, Johnny Wilson. Let's go, baby. I'm fired up. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out after the show. Did a little film breakdown on Johnny Wilson. Listen, if there is somebody that is going to develop and become a game-breaking freak at the next level, it's Johnny Wilson. His 40 time is going to be hilarious because I think his 10-yard split is going to be medium. He has like solid burst for his size. Like that size isn't supposed to accelerate that quickly. But once he opens it up, he is just chewing up ground. And it is a sight to behold. There's guys that run like gazelles. There's guys that run like, little bunny rabbits. You got your springbucks, whatever. Johnny Wilson runs like a motherfucking giraffe. And I love it. Over the middle of the field, he absolute threat, absolute weapon. Like in breaking routes where he can get his big body in front of dudes and he's already using that momentum with him. You can see as his legs are churning the ground in front of you. I get excited about Johnny Wilson. I might move him higher. He has that it factor that when the ball is in his hands, you can see defenders don't want to tackle him, which is awesome to see for a wide receiver. Sky high as far as his potential and height, but you got to talk about the drops. I don't know why he doesn't catch the ball all the time because he looks like a natural hands catcher sometimes. Sometimes he is mossing a defender, catching it with his hands, and he's catching it at a point that like only the Eiffel Tower could stop him. And then there's other times where he just lets a defender into his frame, dominate them throughout the rep, and he becomes a non-factor. So if the real Johnny Wilson could please stand up, I would love that. Hi, Olivia. Hi, Uncle Steve. And hi, Johnny Wilson. I love you. Evan, thoughts on Johnny Wilson before we get into your 11?
Yeah, I mean, I like Johnny Wilson. I'll be very interested to see whether teams start working him out at tight end. I think he is questionable. As much as people want him to transition to tight end, I just don't know if he has a position in the NFL right now. You look at his size, and he'd have to put on 15 pounds, maybe 20, depending on what he weighs in at the combine, to really be able to be considered for tight end that could potentially block. Because you look at him blocking on the outside and you think he should be dominating these DBs when he's blocking. And he's fine. I don't know if he's dominating them, but he's fine. And then you look at that and he's just undersized to be a tight end in the NFL these days, especially if he comes in, what's he listed at, 235, somewhere in that range?
He weighed in at the Senior Bowl at 234.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, if he comes in at that weight, that's undersized for a tight end. And the amount of tight ends we've seen that actually produce at that weight are slim, very, very slim.
Nice pun.
Which basically means he'd need to be an outside wide receiver, and I just don't see it. I mean, he'd be relegated to a red zone jump ball threat, in my opinion. A guy that's going to be very touchdown dependent. So,
which is unfortunate because Florida State didn't even use him in the red zone as a jump ball guy.
yeah,
So like,
I know.
how?
So frustrating.
Why is that just me? Like, he showed he could do it on tape, and then they just
Yeah.
didn't.
Yep.
They decided to use Keon Coleman instead, which props to them. It worked. But
Which Keon Coleman exhibits much better characteristics of a jump ball wide receiver.
if we could just take Keon Coleman's mentality and put it in Johnny Wilson's brain, we would have Mike Evans, but bigger.
Johnny Wilson plays like he's 6'2", 190.
I know. He plays like he's Troy Franklin sized. And
It's so frustrating.
it's a criminal thing to have. Listen, if he puts it together, this is a guy I'm going to be taking in the 3rd and the 4th rounds of my rookie drafts, just because, one, he's fun to root for. Every time he's on the field, you're excited, you're fired up. 2, like that development arc makes sense. Like, he shows up, a coach works with him, he works on his release package, because you can't teach someone to be that big, and you can't teach someone that big to move that fast. Like, he looks like he is a power forward out on the field. I just need him to jump like one sometimes. I'm actually really curious to see what his vertical is, because I don't know if he gets off the ground that often.
I was thinking that exact same thing. I don't think his vertical is going to be that impressive.
It's going to be fun.
I think if you break down his explosiveness score, I think it's actually going to be pretty low, but we'll see.
Definitely something to watch. Anyway, let's get into your wide receiver 11. Who is it?
Yeah, mine's Roman Wilson. We already talked about him a little bit here. I think if I'm remembering correctly, he ran a sub 4.4 coming out of high school, which if you can run a sub 4.4 coming out of high school, you better be able to run a 4.35 at the NFL Combine.
I think if I remember right, his mom was a track star.
Okay.
Look that up real quick while you riff.
All right. Yeah. So even better there. Toughness, leadership, reliable hands, field stretching speed. You look at how he was used. There is some concern for yards after catch. It does seem like he kind of goes down a little easier than you would think for how tough of a guy he is. He's not as elusive as you would want either. He kind of catches the ball and DBs kind of say, hey, he's right there. I'm going to go hit him. And when he gets touched, he goes down.
Yeah. Big Tyler Lockett energy.
There's, yeah, very much so. And then on top of it, he seems like a very high IQ, and watching him run and use space and be able to use his routes to his advantage, which is really important to me. I want to see football players that are smart, that are going to know what they're doing on the field, rather than a guy that can run a really good route, but he needs the exact route called for him and not have to make a deviation to it. So.
Cool. Roman Wilson, 11. Would you like to go to your 12 now?
Yeah, so 12, I think we're going to have a little argument over here because it's Malachi Corley.
I need to write that down too. Everyone listen to the keyboard. Enjoy this. This is Evan's fault. If you're audio only, enjoy.
Oh, no, audio only here, man.
Switch to YouTube, by the way. If you're on audio, go to YouTube, click subscribe, give us some love.
All right, so Malachi Corley, I see, and this is going to be lazy as lazy can be. I just see too much Devo light. I see too much that he's a guy that gets the ball near the line of scrimmage, very quick. Maybe Mike Evans light, or Mike Evans, sorry. Oh my gosh. Michael Thomas. It's been a long week already.
Man,
Michael Thomas.
It is tough in these streets right now.
Yes, it really is. I apologize, everybody. Michael Thomas, slant boy, looking at him, getting the ball right by the line of scrimmage, being able to take it. I mean, you look at his upper body and you just see how well built it is, how strong it is. You don't really see him doing too detailed of route running. More is kind of give me the ball and I'm just going to kind of run through some corners and run through some safeties. Straight line speed should be there. Production, you want to talk about college production? Yes, I get it. It was for Western Kentucky. But 3 straight years of over 650 yards, over 70 receptions. He was very clearly the main go-to guy in that offense, and probably a little bit on the smaller side, but he's thick. I mean, we're talking, 5'11", probably comes in at 5'10" and some odd inches, 210. I mean, if he can hold over 205, I mean, you're going to look at him from a BMI standpoint and appreciate it. So I'm just going to put that one out there as a dart throw. Do I think you're going to be taking him in the second round of your dynasty drafts? Probably not. He's probably going to be an early third, mid third, but throw a name out there. Once again, that middle of second round to middle of third round is just prime RB territory for me.
Yeah, I was going to say Malachi Corley or Bucky Irving.
Oh, Bucky.
Malachi Corley or Braylon Allen, and you don't even like Braylon Allen.
Malachi Corley.
Okay, Malachi Corley or Jonathan Brooks.
Oh, Jonathan Brooks is my RB1, so.
Blake Corum. Whoa, spoilers. We got that next week.
Yeah, sorry. Come back next week and you can hear why.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, I understand where it comes from. I just, maybe this is weird, but I think it's like easier to be the Deebo Samuel when you play at Western Kentucky because you're getting tackled by Evan and I after math class. Like, yeah, you should break those tackles. Those aren't NFL dudes. So I am excited for him. I'm rooting for him. I will not be drafting him. Or honestly, this is my wide receiver 12, which is why I put the meme up. Xavier Legette. Which, listen, if there's two guys in this class that can be compared to Deebo Samuel, it's Xavier Legette and Malachi Corley. There were some things on film to really like. He's extremely physical at the catch point. He plays like he thinks he's 6'4", which he listed at. He plays like he thinks he's DK Metcalf. Like, there's a lot of things to like with his mentality. I just think that his route running needs a lot of love, and I'm concerned. Why did he not break out until he was 27 years old? He's not actually 27. I think he's 23. Like, why did it take so long for him to develop when he has been at USC? Like, it's not like he transferred last year and all of a sudden this is his takeoff year. Like, he has been there. They didn't do anything with him. So kind of a red flag in an analytics profile, especially because it's not like there were other NFL talents suppressing him at USC, right? Like, who's the best receiver to come out of there in the last 5 years?
At USC?
USC, Airline.
You mean SC? Can't do that, Mike. It's SC. Come on.
Yeah, for audio only, he went to University of South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Real USC.
Ah, come on. The other one has so much more money. They can buy the rights.
True. But yeah, so who's the best receiver that would be keeping him down? Like, I can't name anybody that would be there. So a lot of red flags there. But at that point in the draft, if I really need a wide receiver and I feel like he has that high ceiling because the athleticism is there. But just like Quentin Johnson last year, he was touted as a size speed freak. This guy he already measured not as big as he was supposed to. He was 6'1", 215, 220? 223,
Yeah.
I think.
Whiter than he should have been.
He was
shorter. Yeah.
Shorter, lighter, and didn't run as fast with the chip in his pads. Like,
but his BMI will be higher because he was shorter.
Great. If he played running back, that would be cool.
For all those BMI Twitter people.
Yeah. If Legette moved to fullback, I would love that. But
just put him back at H-back,
It would be electric. I am excited to see what he does. I am not optimistic. I will also be drafting running backs at this point in the draft.
So, fifth year breakout?
Yep.
Yeah. Love that, don't you?
Hey, last time there was a fifth year breakout from USC. You know who it was?
Stop it.
Just Deebo Samuel. Hey,
we're not playing this.
It's the only comparison. No, he has the right mentality, and I'm excited about it. I just, at this point, not for me. Not for me. So, who's your wide receiver? 13 now?
Yeah,
we said we were going deep. We're going deep.
Oh, man. Yeah, 13 is just I don't even know what he is. At this point, once again, I'm just full running back mode. And I'm just going to take a shot on a guy that I think could have some hype at this point, and go with the guy that you wanted to go with, Mike, earlier, and you did go with earlier in Johnny Wilson,
Let's go.
because I think if he does transfer to tight end, while I haven't personally viewed it, I think people will see and say, oh, his size, his speed, his ability to catch, which does he have ability to catch? No, we don't know. We'll see.
He does. He just chooses when to do it.
Sure. So yeah, I think people will get too excited about that. And I'm going to take the chance in, what would that be, 4th round probably, where you can get Johnny Wilson at this point.
You're playing with me.
No, okay, sure. Go ahead and take him, Mike, at the 312 after you've won your league.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the hype around him will build if he actually does transition to tight end. If he stays wide receiver, he'll probably make some plays in the preseason where you can dump him for a round upgrade in the following year's draft. So I'm going to take that, with that being my bet. 4th round picks are just dart throws anyway, and you're hoping that they even make a roster and stay on a roster. So
I have
a dynasty roster.
Yeah, I have the exact same thoughts about a new player, Devontae Walker. He turned a lot of heads when, who is it, Lance Zierlein? No, Daniel Jeremiah put him in the 1st round of a mock draft. And then we all saw him play at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Can't deal with press. Doesn't have good releases. Doesn't have clean route running. But man, he's fast in a straight line. And that's going to keep him around the NFL for a little bit. He's the kind of guy, there's going to be a couple of truthers, like, those like diehard UNC guys that they're just, whatever happens, they're going to be super about the UNC folks. If you're in a league with one of them, grab your Tez Walker, wait for him to make a long touchdown, sell him for a 2nd. If you can sell him for a 3rd, that's a win. I don't see a path, and this is going to be a hilarious clip if he ends up being good. I don't see a path where he's useful for fantasy football. Late breakout, and I know why the late breakout was, like, he was bouncing around schools, he had to apply for eligibility. Like, it's a great story, and he's an amazing, amazing story, and I'm rooting for all of these players. But for dynasty fantasy football, I'm out. So, any thoughts on Tez?
Yeah, somebody's probably going to like him. It's not going to be me. Won't be drafting him. It's not something. He could go out and run a 4.3, and I just wouldn't care. He could go run a 4.3 at the combine, and I'd be like, okay, great. Somebody else take him, please. Let somebody else fall to me. Let another running back in the 3rd fall to me. If he goes in the 2nd in dynasty rookie drafts at this point, I will be absolutely flabbergasted. He should be going in the 3rd. I won't be touching him until late 4th.
Who he reminds me of?
Oh no!
You remember last season when there were those like small sect of people that just believed in Kayshon Boutte? No matter what happened, they were like, he's gonna be good. I remember him in 2021 before the 2 ankle surgeries and before he had off the field problems. Tez Walker isn't going to fail because of those reasons. Like, let's get that out of the way. He's, from what I hear, an amazing kid with a great background. But like, there's going to be a small group of people that are like, I know Tez Walker is going to be good no matter what, and they're going to draft him at like the 210 or like the 302, and I am gonna laugh because Bucky Irving will fall to me, or Braylon Allen, or Blake Corum, or Jonathan Brooks, or insert running back / Johnny Wilson here, because Johnny Wilson's the GOAT. Cool.
Yeah, sure. We'll say that. Why not?
We'll go from there.
Yeah.
All right. We got one more receiver on the docket. Was Jalen McMillan good because Polk was out, or was McMillan good and just needed Polk to be out so he could show it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the question. You go back to 2022 and he was fantastic. So, I mean,
So what happened?
Did Penix and the efficiency of the offense make him? Did the fact that he played on the West Coast and people didn't watch most West Coast games because they're on very late at night, and I'm a sleepy boy and I enjoy my sleep. So I try not to stay up for those super late games, unless it was to be able to watch UCLA and watch Carson Steele, the man who owns an alligator. The dude owns an alligator. Come on. Enough said.
Yeah. So does LSU. They own the Gators.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay. But yeah, back to Jalen McMillan. I mean, he can be fine. I mean, is he going to be more than a wide receiver 3? Is he going to be more than a wide receiver
No.
3 on an NFL team?
No.
Not for fantasy, but on an NFL team.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I mean, if you're a wide receiver 3, then what are you really that useful for fantasy?
They're
How many wide receiver 3s are significantly useful in fantasy? Multiple flex weeks.
Yep.
Yep.
Follow us for more hard hitting analysis.
Yep. There you go.
Yep. Okay, cool. I have similar thoughts. I'm not really excited or hot and bothered about Jalen McMillan. So let's cut it out. So start at the top of the list. We have, for me, Marvin Harrison Jr. is number 1, Neighbors number 2, Rome Dunze number 3, Brian Thomas Jr. number 4, Troy Franklin number 5, Lad McConkey number 6, Keon Coleman number 7, Xavier Worthy number 8, Roman Wilson number 9, Jalen Polk 10, Johnny Wilson 11 / tight end 2 if he becomes a tight end, and then Xavier Legette, and then I guess Corley and McMillan if you hate yourself.
Ooh, so real quick, spicy. You said tight end 2 if he becomes a tight end over
Sanders.
JT Sanders?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
and I like Sanders.
I know you do.
I think that he's a true weapon on the inside of the field, and if he becomes a tight end and somebody drafts him with the intention of him being a tight end, it's a green flag for him as a prospect. Run through
Okay.
your top, however deep you want to go. And then
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
do-
we got 13 on the list, so
send it.
the very clear top 3 of Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze. So we got those guys knocking them out of the
We
park
got
in
that.
that analysis. Our analysis was on point with them.
I
Best,
did
almost best, and really good.
really good.
Yep.
Plus
Look at
size
that
Chris
analysis.
Olave.
That's all that you need right there.
Yeah.
And then 4, we got Brian Thomas Jr. 5, we got Keon Coleman. 6 is Troy Franklin. 7 is Lad McConkey. 8 is A.D. Mitchell. 9 is Xavier Worthy. 10 is Jalen Polk. 11 is Roman Wilson. 12 is Malachi Corley. 13 is Johnny Wilson. And let's see after the combine and pro days how we feel about that. We can revisit the list and see what's changed.
Yeah. For those of you that are following along at home, there's a draft profile up on Xavier Legette right now. There's one up on Johnny Wilson. There's one up on Lad McConkey. I'm doing one on Brian Thomas Jr. sometime this week. If you would like a film breakdown where I cut all 22 film and talk over it, because I know you are just excited about my lovely voice, just drop a comment, tell me who you want to hear, and I will make it for you the next time that I'm available. Cool. I'm going to run through 3 names that I just want your gut reaction. Give me a pro comp. It cannot be Deebo Samuel. Number 1, Keon Coleman, you're muted. Pro comp.
Yeah, Kenny Galladay because he's a jump ball receiver. Kenny Galladay when he was good.
But the good years.
The good years, yes.
Okay, the good years of. Okay, I like that. Brian Thomas Jr.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Do it. You're gonna say it.
DK, like,
Yes.
yeah, it just makes too much sense.
How many 6'4" guys are that fast?
That's a great, yeah.
Yeah, he's a freak, and I am beyond excited. And last but not least, you can't say Hunter Renfrow. Lad McConkey, pro comp. You can't say Julian Edelman.
Worse Cooper Kupp.
You can't say Cooper Kupp either. Oh man.
Wait. He's Cooper Kupp if Cooper Kupp never got Sean McVay.
Okay. I can rock with that. Is there any other receivers that you would like to shout out? Are there? Is there?
Not that I'm really looking at. I'm trying to real quick go through.
While you're looking,
Jamar Thrash, maybe.
Okay, I can rock with Thrash. Give me an elevator pitch on why we should like Thrash.
Production, transfer to Louisville, is going to be very cheap. Has the ability to get downfield. Knows what it's like to be the number one wide receiver on a team, be the go-to guy.
Cool. Elevator pitch for you. Malik Washington. Elite production, cooked dudes at the Shrine Bowl. If there's somebody who's going to climb throughout this process and like people are going to fall in love with him, it's Malik Washington. I think if there's a day 3 receiver that ends up being that dynasty darling, like if you have 5 rounds of a rookie draft and Malik Washington's still there, take a swing. Why not? Cool.
Ooh, do you think Jimmy Horn Jr. gets drafted?
No.
Okay.
Do you?
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to be a free agent.
Here's a good question. Where is Ricky Pearsall? Tiny slot boy.
Ugh. So many years. So many years at Florida. Florida, Arizona State. I mean, there's a lot of wide receivers when you look back at that Arizona State team from like 2019, 2020. You're like, oh, they
were there.
They actually had some guys. And they had Jaden Daniels.
They had Johnny Wilson too.
Yeah, they did.
And Brandon Ayuk.
And Ayuk was still there.
Ricky Pearsall.
So,
what are we missing?
Coaching.
What is the name? Oh, Kyle. What is the name of the tiny slot? Kyle Phillips. That is Ricky Pearsall.
For the Titans.
Yes, that is Ricky Pearsall.
Was Pearsall a return guy though? Because Phillips was heralded as a return guy. He was supposed to be the punt returner and kick returner for the Titans.
Got to dive into the film real quick, but no. I'm guessing on, for those of you who don't know, I'm guessing on the Out of Rhythm Fantasy Sports on Thursday, so tune into that if you want to come say hi. I think that does it for time for us, though. Evan, say what's up to the people. Give them some love. Tell them about Dubby.
Oh man, glad to be back for a little bit here. I know picture and sound quality is probably not exactly up to par here, but
you are definitely in a motel.
I'm doing my best here. W, it's been a lot of sleepless nights, and it's been getting me through the days. Being able to have it, I'm not like sitting around just jittering all over the place like a jitterbug out on the field. Like a jitterbug out on the field, Thankfully, I don't have to do that because I got this nice cushy job being a city engineer. So don't need that, but definitely need a lot of energy to stay up with these developers, and it gives me plenty of energy to be able to do that.
Yeah. I had meetings at 9, 10, 1, and 3 today. And if I didn't have Dubby, I was going to hit somebody. So shout out to Dubby. Use code FFRPG at checkout for a little bit of a percentage off. And a little bit comes back to us. So Evan doesn't have to record from the inside of a serial killer's home. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Fantasy Football RPG Podcast. Bye-bye.